So for the purpose of intermediate ceramics, what we want to talk about here is we want to talk about Raku Glaze. So Raku Glaze is quite different than high fire glaze, right? High fire glaze, that recipe that we all have to know from beginning ceramics, that's the 1, 2, 3, 4 Celadon, and this is actually potash feldspar, which means it's potassium feldspar. Remember, feldspar has silica, flux, and kaolin in it. And then we have silica again in the glaze recipe. Calcium carbonate is a flux. And then we have kaolin again. That is a glaze that melts at 2,345 degrees or cone 10. Now, we also have a glaze in the shop, a whole different glazing process that melts down at this temperature, right? Which is basically cone 08 to cone 04. We fire the Raku kiln really quick. It's not a big kiln, but there's a lot of space in it. So there's going to be different temperatures in there. And Raku glaze can melt within this temperature range. Very simple recipe for the Raku glaze, 80 Gersley borate. This is a really funky material. We'll talk about it here in a second. And 20% feldspar. And then we would add colorants to it, just like this, right? We would just add colorants after that. Feldspar, the particular feldspar that's used here is a feldspar called nepheline cyanide. It's a sodium feldspar. Kind of sounds like poison, but it's not. It's just a type of feldspar. So really just 2 ingredients. Now the cool thing about Gersley borate is it forms low temp glass, all right? Also referred to as soft glass. It's a boric oxide glass, all right? And the other thing that it really does really well is it suspends materials in the water mixture, all right? So Gersley borate is both a suspender, so it helps things stay mixed in the bucket, and it also is a glass former all by itself, all right? Low temp glass former, AKA soft glass former. It's a boric oxide glass former. And then feldspar, of course, just like the feldspar over here that we've talked about, feldspar, of course, has silica, flux, and kaolin in it. So the presence of some feldspar here actually helps the Gersley borate, the main constituent of this glaze. It helps the Raku glaze become kind of a little bit more durable, all right? But Raku glaze is much softer. It's not as hard. It's not like hard like window glass. High fire glaze is really hard like window glass. Further, of course, you know that the clay isn't matured when we do Raku firing, so the clay is soft. And then, of course, there's all the things about Raku firing where you take it out of the kiln when it's red hot and you get it in that can to suck the oxygen out of the glaze. Those are about glaze effects. But as intermediate ceramic students, you will need to know this basic Raku glaze recipe. All right, so when you take your ceramic process test as an intermediate ceramic student, there'll be a few things in the glaze lecture that are a little bit extra than the beginning ceramics test. All right, very well.